The FBI's most wanted list has murderers, terrorists, international drug lords. But there's one name on there that doesn't belong. A massage therapist from Miami who stole more money than most countries see in their budgets and made federal agents look like complete idiots in the process. Marina Delacroix. Remember that name. She wasn't supposed to be dangerous. Soft hands, quiet voice, healing touch. The kind of person you'd trust with your deepest stress, your worst pain, your secrets. And that's exactly what made her the perfect criminal. While you're worried about hackers and cartel bosses, Marina was running her fingers along someone's spine and learning how to steal $178 million. Not gradually. Not over years. In one night. From people who kill for a living. Here's what gets me. The FBI spent more resources hunting this woman than they did chasing some actual terrorists. Why? Because she didn't just take the money and run. She took it and built something bigger. Something that made the original crime look like pocket change. You think you can spot a dangerous person, right? You've got your mental checklist. Tattoos, scars, the way someone carries themselves. Marina had none of that. She had a massage license and a smile that made Miami's elite feel safe enough to tell her everything. Before we go any further, you need to understand something. This isn't just a crime story. This is about how completely wrong you can be about someone. How the most dangerous people aren't the ones who look threatening. They're the ones who make you feel comfortable. And if you think you're too smart to fall for that, hit subscribe, because this story is going to prove you wrong. If you think you don't need to hear this, go to the comments and tell me why you're different. I'll wait. Marina is still out there. Right now. The FBI admits they have no idea where she is. $5 million reward and they're chasing shadows. Congressional hearings about how badly they messed this up. And somewhere, probably in South America, she's watching them fumble around and laughing. She started as someone who healed people. She ended as someone who could destroy them. And the scariest part? She figured out how to do it without anyone suspecting a thing until it was way too late. So how does a massage therapist become a criminal mastermind? And why can't the most powerful law enforcement agency in the world find her? Let me tell you exactly how this happened. Marina's clinic sat on Collins Avenue, 2 blocks from the beach. White walls, bamboo floors, the sound of waves mixed with meditation music. Serenity Wellness Spa. Even the name was designed to make you relax. She opened it in 2015 after moving from Montreal. Had all the right credentials from some fancy massage therapy institute up there. Spoke 4 languages fluently: French, English, Spanish, Creole. The kind of resume that made Miami's wealthy feel like they were getting premium service. Her clients loved her. Real estate moguls, hedge fund managers, wives of pharmaceutical executives. People with serious money and serious stress. They'd come intense, leave feeling like they'd found their personal savior. Marina had this gift. She could read people like a book you'd already finished. 5 minutes into a session and she knew if someone was having marriage problems, business troubles, or hiding something they shouldn't be. Not because she was psychic. Because she paid attention to things nobody else bothered noticing. The way someone's shoulders tensed when their phone buzzed. How they breathed when certain topics came up. Which muscles stayed tight no matter how much pressure she applied. Most massage therapists focused on knots. Marina focused on patterns. Her appointment book was full for months in advance. These people weren't just coming for the massage. They were coming because Marina made them feel heard. Understood. Safe. That was the trap. See, when someone with money feels safe, they talk. They mention business deals that aren't public yet. Family problems that could destroy reputations. Financial moves that would interest the wrong people. Marina absorbed every word while her hands worked their magic. She never took notes during sessions. Didn't need to. Perfect memory, apparently. But after each client left, she'd sit in her office and write everything down. Names, dates, amounts, connections. Built herself a database of secrets that would make a blackmailer jealous. The thing is, Marina wasn't originally planning to become a criminal. At least, that's what I think. She was just naturally curious about human behavior. Maybe it started as a psychological exercise, understanding what made wealthy people tick. But curiosity has a way of becoming opportunity when you're smart enough to recognize it. Marina's background made her perfect for this. Growing up in Haiti, she learned early that survival meant understanding people better than they understood themselves. Montreal taught her how to blend in with money. Miami gave her access to the kind of people whose secrets were worth something. Her clinic became a confessional where people paid her to listen. Except unlike a priest, Marina wasn't bound by any vows of silence. She kept everything legal for 3 years. Built her reputation, expanded her client base, invested her profits smartly. From the outside, she was just another successful small business owner living the American dream. But Marina was studying, learning the patterns of how dirty money moved through clean businesses. Which clients mentioned offshore accounts casually, like they were talking about vacation homes. Who complained about banking regulations like they had personal experience avoiding them. She was building a map of Miami's financial underground without anyone realizing they were giving her the directions. Then Ricardo Fuentes walked into her clinic in January 2018. Successful import-export business, he said. Dealt with products from South America. Always paid in cash, which wasn't unusual for her high-end clients. Some people just preferred privacy. But Ricardo was different. Marina's trained eye caught details that would have made most people nervous. The expensive watch that didn't match his claimed income level. Phone calls he took in rapid Spanish, using words that didn't sound like legitimate business terminology. And the tattoos. Partially hidden under his shirt, but visible when he moved certain ways during their sessions. Marina had done her research on criminal organizations. Academic curiosity, she told herself. But she recognized those symbols. Ricardo Fuentes wasn't just another wealthy client. He was her ticket to something much bigger. Ricardo's first session told Marina everything she needed to know. The man was nervous in a way that had nothing to do with muscle tension. She started small. Asked about his business while working on his shoulders. Import-export, he said again. South American products. But when she mentioned she'd visited Colombia once, his whole body went rigid. Not the good kind of rigid. The kind that screams guilty conscience. Most therapists would have backed off. Marina leaned in. Over the next few months, she became Ricardo's personal confessor. He'd come in stressed about shipments being delayed. Worried about partners who weren't returning calls. Frustrated with logistics that sounded nothing like legitimate business operations. Marina never asked direct questions. She just listened and remembered everything. The tattoos were her first real clue. During their third session, she got a clear look at the design on his upper back. A sun with specific ray patterns and small symbols around the edges. She'd seen something similar in her research on Caribbean criminal networks. The Hermanos del Sol Cartel. Brothers of the Sun. She didn't mention it. Just filed it away and kept building trust. Ricardo started relaxing around her. The therapy sessions became confession sessions. He'd complain about his business partners, always referring to them as the brothers. Mentioned trips to Medellin that definitely weren't vacation-related. Talked about cash flow problems that involved moving money through clean channels. Marina was getting a masterclass in money laundering from someone who didn't realize he was teaching. Then came the phone call that changed everything. February 2018. Ricardo was face down on the massage table when his phone started buzzing. He'd usually ignore it during sessions, but this time he grabbed it immediately. The conversation was in rapid Spanish. Marina's fluency meant she caught every word. The shipment from Medellin, Ricardo said. 178. 178. But he wasn't talking about kilos or units. The conversation made it clear he was talking about millions. $178 million sitting in a Miami warehouse, waiting to be laundered through legitimate businesses. Marina kept her hands moving, kept her breathing steady. But her mind was racing. Ricardo continued the call. Mentioned the warehouse location, industrial district, climate-controlled, minimal security. Said they needed to move the money soon because keeping that much cash in one place was making the brothers nervous. When he hung up, Marina didn't miss a beat. Continued the massage like she hadn't understood a word. Asked him about his weekend plans while calculating exactly what she'd just learned. Most people would have reported this to the FBI. Anonymous tip: stay out of it, let the professionals handle it. Marina saw something else entirely. She saw the biggest payday of her life sitting in a warehouse with security that relied on secrecy instead of protection. She saw a criminal organization that was so confident in their invisibility they were discussing operational details in front of a civilian. She saw opportunity. That night, Marina sat in her apartment and made a choice that would put her name on the FBI's most wanted list. She could turn Ricardo in and go back to her safe, legal life giving massages to wealthy people. Or she could take what she'd learned and become something much more dangerous. She saw the signs. She connected the dots. She exploited what others ignored. If that doesn't terrify you even a little, you're not paying attention. Subscribe now, because if someone like Marina ever targets your blind spots, you'll wish you had. And if you're bold enough to skip subscribing, drop a comment explaining why you're confident she wouldn't have chosen you as her next mark. Marina chose crime. But she was going to do it smarter than Ricardo and his cartel bosses ever imagined. She had 6 months to plan the perfect heist. And unlike every other criminal who tried to steal from the Hermanos del Sol cartel, Marina had something they'd never seen coming. She had patience. Marina didn't quit her day job. That was the genius of it. Every morning she'd open Serenity Wellness Spa at 8 sharp. Same routine, same clients, same healing hands routine. But now she was playing a completely different game. While Ricardo talked about his stress on the massage table, Marina was memorizing every detail about warehouse security protocols. When he mentioned delivery schedules, she was mapping out guard rotations. When he complained about his partner's paranoia, she was learning their weaknesses. But she couldn't do this alone. One person doesn't walk away with $178 million without serious help. Marina needed specialists. Not the kind you find through normal channels. She started with Nikolai Petrov, former Russian intelligence officer who'd moved to Miami after his government work ended badly. Now he consulted for private security firms, but Marina had done her homework. Nikolai was available for the right price and the right challenge. She approached him carefully. Met him at a coffee shop in Wynwood, told him she needed consultation on personal security for her growing business. High-end clients, potential threats, that sort of thing. Nothing illegal about wanting protection advice. 3 meetings in, she mentioned a hypothetical scenario. What if someone wanted to access a warehouse with modern security systems? Purely theoretical, of course. Academic interest in security vulnerabilities. Nikolai wasn't stupid. He knew Marina wasn't asking theoretical questions. But he was also intrigued by the sophistication of her approach. Most criminals came to him with half-baked schemes and desperation. Marina came with patience and intelligence. She offered him partnership, not employment. Equal split of whatever they acquired. That got his attention. The second recruit was harder to find. Marina needed someone who understood digital security systems. Not just a hacker, she needed someone who could make technology work invisibly. Camila Santos had worked for 3 Fortune 500 companies before burning out on corporate life. Brilliant computer engineer with a specialty in cybersecurity. She'd gone freelance, officially helping businesses protect themselves from digital threats. Unofficially, she knew exactly how to exploit those same vulnerabilities. Marina found her through professional networks. Spa business was expanding, she said. Needed someone to evaluate her digital security. Client privacy was paramount in her industry. Camila's evaluation revealed several interesting things about Marina's current systems. But more importantly, it revealed that Camila understood security from both sides. Protection and penetration. Marina waited 2 months before mentioning her real project. By then, Camila was already curious about why a massage therapist needed military-grade encryption for her client files. The warehouse surveillance took 4 months. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies. Just careful observation disguised as legitimate business activities. Marina's spa needed supplies. Industrial district had wholesale vendors. Perfect excuse to drive through the area regularly, noting patterns and timing. Nikolai handled the technical reconnaissance. Security cameras, alarm systems, personnel schedules. The warehouse used smart locks tied to a central system. Good for efficiency, terrible for security if someone understood the vulnerabilities. Camila worked on the digital side. The warehouse management company used standard commercial security software with predictable update schedules and known weaknesses. She could create access without leaving traces that would point back to them. Meanwhile, Marina kept extracting information from Ricardo. He'd become comfortable enough to complain about warehouse logistics during sessions. Climate control costs, insurance requirements, staff scheduling problems. Every detail went into Marina's planning database. Guard shift changes, delivery schedules, maintenance windows. She was building a complete operational picture while maintaining perfect cover. The warehouse held more than just money. Ricardo mentioned art, jewelry, other valuable items the cartel used for laundering. But Marina only cared about the cash. 178 million in bundled bills, stored in climate-controlled perfection. The security was exactly what she'd expected. Minimal physical presence because the cartel relied on invisibility over force. A few guards, standard commercial alarm system, cameras that recorded to local servers. They assumed nobody knew the money was there. That assumption would cost them everything. Marina's plan had 3 phases: entry, acquisition, and most importantly, disappearance. Not just physical disappearance, financial vanishing that would make the money untraceable before anyone realized it was gone. She'd learned something important during those 6 months of planning. Patience wasn't about waiting. It was about preparation. Most criminals rushed because they were desperate or stupid. Marina had time, resources, and something more dangerous than either. She had nothing to lose and everything to gain. By August 2019, every detail was mapped. Every contingency planned. Every escape route tested. Marina was ready to become the FBI's biggest embarrassment. August 15, 2019. 2:17 a.m. Marina sat in a rental car 3 blocks from the warehouse, watching Nikolai's signal through her earpiece. 2 guards on duty, both following their predictable patrol pattern. Camila was already inside the building's network, camera feeds looping footage from the previous night. No guns. No masks. No dramatic movie nonsense. Marina wore scrubs and carried a medical bag. If anyone saw her, she was a nurse making an emergency house call. Nikolai looked like private security in his dark suit. Camila stayed in the van, fingers flying across 3 laptops. The warehouse sat in an industrial complex that emptied out after business hours. Perfect isolation for what the cartel thought was perfect security. 2:23 a.m. Camila's voice crackled through their earpieces. Smart lock system is compromised. You have a 15-minute window before the next automated security check. Marina and Nikolai approached the loading dock. No alarms, no rushing, no panic. Just 2 professionals doing a job. The first guard was easy. Nikolai used a chemical spray that put him down in seconds, unconscious, not dead. The second guard found himself breathing the same substance before he could react. Both men would wake up hours later with headaches and no memory of the last few minutes. Marina had insisted on non-lethal methods. Dead guards meant federal investigations. Sleeping guards meant confusion and delayed response. 2:31 a.m. Inside the warehouse. The money was exactly where Ricardo's loose lips had indicated. Climate-controlled storage room, stacks of cash organized by denomination and currency. More money than most people see in their entire lives, sitting in perfect rows like a bank vault. But Marina wasn't there to admire it. Nikolai wheeled in industrial carts they'd prepared. Marina started loading with mechanical efficiency. No celebration, no stopping to count. Every minute mattered. 2:44 a.m. Loading complete. 47 minutes from entry to exit. The rental truck was packed with $178 million in untraceable cash, and Marina was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Most thieves would run. Marina went home. She opened her spa the next morning like nothing had happened. Saw her regular Thursday clients, including Ricardo, who seemed stressed about something he couldn't quite explain. Meanwhile, the real work was happening. Camila had set up a network of cryptocurrency exchanges, offshore accounts, and shell companies that existed only on paper. The money got broken down into thousands of smaller transactions, each one designed to trigger different banking protocols in different countries. 72 hours. That's how long Marina took to make $178 million completely disappear. By the time the cartel realized they'd been robbed, the cash was already scattered across 17 countries, converted into digital assets, and filtered through legitimate businesses Marina had quietly acquired over the previous months. The warehouse guards remembered nothing useful. Security cameras showed nothing suspicious. The smart lock system had no record of being compromised. From the cartel's perspective, $178 million had simply vanished. Marina made $178 million disappear in 47 minutes, without a single gunshot. If you're watching this and thinking, that could never happen to me, you're exactly the kind of person she would have targeted. Subscribe, because staying naive is a choice. Or head to the comments and tell us why you think you're smarter than the FBI. Seriously, we're listening. The Hermanos del Sol cartel spent weeks investigating their own people, convinced someone had betrayed them from the inside. They never considered that a massage therapist had been studying them for months. By the time they figured out they'd been outsmarted by a civilian, Marina was already working on phase 2 of her plan. She wasn't just going to steal from them once. She was going to destroy them completely. Agent Rebecca Torres had been hunting financial criminals for 15 years. Drug money, terrorist funding, international fraud schemes. She thought she'd seen everything. Then the Hermanos del Sol case landed on her desk. The cartel's lawyers reached out through intermediaries in September 2019. Careful not to incriminate their clients, but desperate enough to risk contact with federal law enforcement. Someone had stolen a significant amount of money from their clients' business operations. Torres knew what that meant. Drug money. Probably millions. The kind of case that could make careers if handled correctly. She had no idea she was about to chase a ghost for the next 4 years. The warehouse crime scene told her nothing. Professional job, minimal evidence, security guards who remembered absolutely nothing useful. Whoever did this had studied law enforcement procedures and specifically avoided leaving anything the FBI could trace. That should have been Torres' first warning. The money trail was worse. Traditional financial investigations follow bank records, wire transfers, cash deposits. Marina's operation had created something Torres had never seen before. Digital breadcrumbs that led nowhere, shell companies that existed just long enough to process transactions, then dissolved into legal paperwork filed in countries with no extradition treaties. 6 months into the investigation, Torres realized she wasn't chasing ordinary criminals. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Other criminal organizations started reporting thefts. High-end art dealers, cryptocurrency exchanges, investment firms with questionable client bases. All of them had been hit by the same methods. Professional operations that left no evidence, money that vanished into untraceable digital networks. Someone was systematically robbing criminals, and they were getting better at it. Torres connected the cases in early 2020. Same operational signature, same digital laundering methods, same complete absence of useful evidence. But the scale was growing. The warehouse theft was $178 million. The total across all connected cases was approaching $400 million. The FBI was hunting a criminal enterprise that was generating more revenue than most Fortune 500 companies. Congressional oversight committees started asking uncomfortable questions. How does a federal task force with unlimited resources fail to catch thieves who exclusively target other criminals? Especially when those thieves were apparently operating from inside the United States. Torres' superiors demanded answers she didn't have. Surveillance operations turned up nothing. Financial tracking led to dead ends. Digital forensics found ghost companies that had never really existed. The worst part was the victims. trying to investigate crimes reported by people who couldn't provide complete information without incriminating themselves. The cartel couldn't explain why they had $178 million in cash without admitting to drug trafficking. The art dealers couldn't describe their stolen inventory without revealing money laundering operations. Torres was investigating phantom crimes committed against phantom victims by criminals who might not exist. Then came the international complications. Marina's network had expanded beyond U.S. borders. Similar thefts in Colombia, Brazil, the Cayman Islands. Always targeting criminal organizations, always leaving no useful evidence, always resulting in money that disappeared completely. Interpol issued alerts. The DEA shared intelligence. Financial crime units across 3 continents compared notes and reached the same conclusion. Someone had created a criminal organization specifically designed to prey on other criminal organizations. And they were winning. By 2021, Torres was facing congressional testimony about the FBI's failure to solve what politicians were calling a national security threat. One senator suggested the operation was sophisticated enough to be foreign intelligence services targeting American criminal networks. "This feels like a state-sponsored attack," Senator Williams said during the hearing. "Are we really supposed to believe a domestic criminal enterprise is this far ahead of our federal law enforcement capabilities?" Torres couldn't answer that question honestly without admitting the truth. The FBI had no leads, no suspects, and no idea how to catch criminals who understood technology and international finance better than federal agents did. She outwitted agents, hacked through borders, and left digital ghosts where paper trails used to be. Still think you're safe in your little corner of the internet? Subscribe now, because ignorance isn't security. And if you're too confident to click, drop into the comments and explain how you'd catch her. Enlighten the rest of us. The worst part wasn't that the FBI couldn't catch Marina. The worst part was that they were starting to suspect she was just getting started. And they were right. By 2021, Marina wasn't stealing anymore. She was running a business. The $178 million from the warehouse was just seed money. Marina used it to build something the criminal world had never seen before. A consulting firm for people who couldn't hire legitimate consultants. Drug cartels needed money laundered. Marina's network could clean $50 million in a week without triggering a single banking alert. Arms dealers needed digital identities. Marina's team created backgrounds so convincing they'd pass federal background checks. Corrupt politicians needed assets moved offshore. Marina made money disappear and reappear in accounts that didn't exist on paper. She called it providing professional services. Law enforcement called it the most sophisticated criminal enterprise in modern history. Marina had learned something important from her spa days. Rich people didn't want to do their own dirty work. They wanted to hire experts and not think about the details. Criminals were the same way, just with bigger risks and better pay. Her client list read like an international who's who of people you'd never want to meet. Russian oligarchs avoiding sanctions. African warlords moving conflict diamonds. American hedge fund managers hiding tax evasion schemes. South American cartels diversifying beyond drugs. But Marina never met any of them personally. The woman who'd stolen from the Hermanos del Sol cartel no longer existed. At least, not in any way law enforcement could track. Facial reconstruction surgery in Switzerland had altered her bone structure just enough to fool facial recognition software. New fingerprints courtesy of a plastic surgeon in Bangkok who specialized in helping people disappear. Hair color, eye color, even her height had been modified through surgical procedures that most people didn't know existed. She maintained 3 different identities across 4 countries. Business executive in Sao Paulo. Art dealer in Buenos Aires. Retired teacher in Medellin. Each identity had complete documentation going back decades. Birth certificates, school records, employment history. More legitimate than most legitimate people. But Marina's real genius was her body doubles. She'd recruited women with similar builds and trained them to mimic her mannerisms. Professional actresses who'd been coached on her speech patterns, her walking style, even her breathing rhythms. When law enforcement thought they'd spotted Marina in public, they were usually watching an employee who'd been paid to be seen. The doubles attended social events, made public appearances, even got arrested for minor crimes in different countries. Each arrest created evidence that Marina was somewhere she wasn't, doing things she hadn't done. Meanwhile, the real Marina was building an empire from locations that changed monthly. Her operation employed over 200 people across 6 continents. Software engineers in Mumbai, money laundering specialists in Singapore, document forgers in Prague, intelligence analysts in Montreal. Most of them didn't know they were working for the same organization. Marina structured her network like a technology company. Separate divisions, minimal cross-contact, everything compartmentalized for security. If one division got compromised, the others could continue operating independently. The revenue numbers were staggering. Conservative estimates put her annual income at $50 million. But unlike traditional criminal organizations, Marina's network generated money without violence. No territory wars, no enforcement problems, no bodies dropping in public places. She'd created a criminal enterprise that operated like a stealth-mode Fortune 500 company. Professional management, quarterly profit goals, even employee benefits for key personnel. The law enforcement challenge was unlike anything agencies had faced before. Traditional organized crime was territorial and violent. Easy to identify, easy to infiltrate, easy to prosecute. Marina's network was digital and invisible. No physical headquarters, no obvious hierarchy, no angry rivals willing to provide intelligence. Agent Torres retired in 2023, admitting publicly that the Marina case had redefined everything we thought we knew about criminal enterprises. Federal prosecutors struggled to build cases against an organization that existed primarily in cyberspace. But Marina's most impressive achievement wasn't the money or the technology. It was her sources inside law enforcement itself. FBI raids always seemed to happen after Marina's people had already moved. International arrest warrants arrived at empty safe houses. Financial investigations tracked accounts that had been closed weeks earlier. Someone was feeding Marina intelligence from inside the agencies hunting her. And nobody could figure out who. December 2024. Marina Delacroix has been running from the FBI for 5 years. Except she's not really running anymore. The $5 million reward sits unclaimed. Interpol's red notice might as well be printed on invisible paper. The most advanced manhunt in federal law enforcement history has produced exactly nothing useful. Agent Torres gave her final interview before retirement in October 2023. Sitting in her empty office, boxes packed, she looked like someone who'd been fighting a war against an enemy that didn't exist. "We never even got close," she admitted. "Not once. Every lead we followed had been prepared for us. Every breakthrough led to another dead end. It's like chasing someone who knows exactly what you're going to do before you do it." The FBI officially maintains that Marina Delacroix remains a person of interest in multiple ongoing investigations. Unofficially, agents have moved on to cases they might actually solve. Intelligence suggests she's somewhere in South America. Brazil, maybe Colombia. Places where money talks louder than extradition treaties. But suggestions aren't evidence, and the FBI learned years ago that Marina's supposed locations are usually misdirection. A massage therapist spotted in Bogotá turned out to be a local woman who'd never heard of Marina. Security footage from São Paulo showed someone with Marina's build and hair color, but facial recognition came back negative. A financial transaction traced to Buenos Aires led to an account that had been closed before the money arrived. Marina's network continues operating. Financial crimes with her signature appear monthly across different continents. Money laundering operations that bypass every security system. Digital theft so sophisticated that victims don't realize they've been robbed until weeks later. But Marina herself? She's become something law enforcement agencies don't like to admit exists. A ghost. Someone who committed crimes that everyone knows happened, but who might as well have never existed. The perfect criminal in an age where perfect crimes weren't supposed to be possible. The FBI's Miami field office still maintains a Marina Delacroix task force. 3 agents, 1 computer analyst, a budget that gets smaller every year. They're hunting someone who's already won. And everyone knows it except the paperwork. Marina's story isn't about crime. It's about assumptions. You think you can spot dangerous people. You think your job defines your capabilities. You think criminals look like what you see in movies. Marina proved all of that wrong. She wasn't dangerous because she carried weapons. She was dangerous because she understood people better than they understood themselves. While everyone was looking for threats that looked threatening, she was healing their stress and learning their secrets. The deadliest weapon isn't a gun. It's patience combined with intelligence. Marina spent years becoming someone people trusted before she became someone they should have feared. Here's the part where most people leave thinking, "Wow, that was wild." And then they forget it. But those who understand just how fragile the line between normal and notorious really is, they subscribe, because one day, knowing how people like Marina think might be the only thing that saves them. And if you're not subscribing, tell us in the comments what's stopping you. We'll wait, and so will Marina. The most dangerous people don't announce themselves. They heal you first.